So I'm currently watching, or in the process of watching, Comic Drake's video. He entitled "The Man Who Killed Sonic," basically talking about Ken Penders and basically what he did to ruin the comic as it was. But there was something that he pointed out, and something that we pretty much knew as fans, and it still kind of perplexes us a little bit. We know that Ken had this fascination with exploring Knuckles the Echidna's lineage, basically his lore, building it, expanding on it and all that stuff. And one thing that always kind of really just did not sit well with folks is that when Ken Penders did the family tree for Knuckles in one of the issues, I think of the Knuckles comic, or it's one of the issues of Sonic or the special issues, who knows where, I have to look it up. But in that family tree, and Comic Drake, noted this as well, and even he was like a little like, yeah, you didn't really have to mention that, or go there. But basically the family tree consisted of all the characters that we would get to know in the comics, both Sonic and Knuckles and, so on, as well as the distant relatives and everything, and the connections they have with Knuckles and all that. But there was one character's name that stuck out, as part of his family tree, but as a distant cousin, a distant relative, and that's Julie Sue. And look, I know that certain media, most notably Japan, in some of their animes and mangas, they like the idea, and they love exploring the idea, I should say, of putting some kind of attraction between, relatives. I don't know what it is about that, but it seems to be a very popular trope to go back to on occasions for people over in Japan and other continents when it comes to their animations, animes, mangas, novelties, or novelizations, or novels as they call it. It's pretty much a very popular trope. But everybody has always pointed out that Archie Sonic, and by extension Archie Knuckles, the comic book on Knuckles, was always meant as an all-ages comic. And that when you point out something like this in the comic, especially if kids are going to read it, one of the first things they're going to wonder is, why is Julie Sue listed on his family tree? They're going to ask, are they married? What's going on? And can you imagine the parent or the older sibling or the older cousin saying, or trying to explain, say, about that, it's complicated, but let's just say she's sort of related to him, but very, very, very distantly. It wouldn't be, basically it wouldn't be easy for anybody to explain to a young kid that's reading the book for the first time to wonder exactly why the character, of Julie Sue, is listed, in the relatives page for Knuckles. It wouldn't be easy. It wouldn't be easy at all, because it's like, a lot of young kids, even today, would look at that and they would give the classic, ew, gross, sickening. They would. And guess what? They wouldn't be alone in that, because even adults would think that's kind of wrong. But Ken Penders' intention obviously was to basically show how far, and how expansive Knuckles' family tree, his lore, his lineage goes. And basically it goes so far to the point that his girlfriend is a distant cousin. But here's the thing, they don't really address it that much. They might bring it up once in a while, but that's it. That's it. Now, I don't know if Sega stepped in later on, maybe when this got revealed, because like I said, with the exception of that little tree showcased in one of the comics, and maybe a mention of it here and there, we never heard about it afterwards. It was like it didn't exist. So I don't know if Sega stepped in and said, Ken, take that idea of yours and erase it. And Ken would probably be like, well, what do you mean erase it? And they probably told him, look, we have no problem of you giving Knuckles a love interest like giving Sonic a love interest, but you cannot have that love interest be related to him in any shape or form. It's sick. It is wrong. You know, and again, I don't know if maybe the representatives at Sega, representatives of Archie got to Ken and told him that. I don't know. But it's obvious, even when Ian Flynn came on board, that there was no mentioning of it, you know, ever again. But it just shows you, obviously, how far, you know, Ken was willing to go to really just make Knuckles a priority in the book, probably more so than Sonic, by showing that, hey, even Knuckles' girlfriend is somewhat his family because of distant relations, if you will, relations, if that's a word at all. But it's just kind of weird. It's just kind of weird to really think about when you get down to it, that this was an all ages comic, and you want to put that in there. Now, here's the thing. Ken didn't shy away from putting stuff in there that obviously when you look at it in context growing up or as an adult, you realize, oh, shoot, he's referencing something from the Holocaust, or, oh, shoot, he's referencing something from this or that. What the heck is wrong with this guy? So for him to put that in there, yeah, to me, it's not really much surprising. You know, as it seems to be to a lot of folks at times, especially those that are looking up the information on Ken and wondering why, you know, he's so despised, so hated. You know, it's nothing really new to me, you know, looking back on it now, because of the fact that, you know, I watched Anime Abandoned. And one of the episodes I watched was one of his anniversary episodes where he talked about this Invalid or something. Basically, it's an anime and a manga based featuring a cyborg who basically gets amnesia because she gets bonked on the head, but then when she gets bonked again, she goes into what she really is, a psycho serial killer. You know, so you want to avoid her bonking her head again to avoid that. But one thing that Bennett the Sage, or Bennett, basically said in that is the two characters that, you know, this cyborg android character meets up with and is rescued by are cousins, except the female cousin wants to bang the male cousin. And they're related. And there's no distance between the two. And again, this is an anime that's Invalid or something, Invalid or whatever it is, that's from Japan. That's from Japan. And to me, I would not be surprised if that's where Ken got the idea from. From reading some mangas, watching some animes, getting some ideas. I would not be surprised if maybe that's where he got the idea from. Now, you might say, well, maybe Ken got the idea off real-life scenarios because this is kind of true to real life. And I'm not saying it isn't, because I do agree. It is true to real life. The fact that, yes, the person you could be married to or you're going out with could be basically a distant relative of yours. One that you don't know about until you do your family, look up your family tree and your lineage. Only to see that, oh, crap. My fiance is basically a distant cousin. We are the same blood, if you will. Now, some might even put that from a religious allegory and say, well, when you think about it, you know, who were the first humans on earth? Adam and Eve. You know, what does it say in the Bible about Abraham? Children of Abraham, stuff like that. So, you know, so this kind of concept is not, you know, that far removed, I should say, from being reality-based and everything. But again, you have all these kind of different beliefs out there that do and do not believe any of what I just said, basically, if you catch my drift. But even if they do find it true to an extent, you know, even nowadays, even born-again Christians like me find it wrong for you to be in love with your cousin or have any kind of relation with a family member, even if it's distant, because it's like, it just does not make sense. It's just immoral, if you will. And if I, as I've done, and everybody else has done, take out that little noteworthy nougat, if you will, that Ken put in there, just like Ian Flynn has done, and I'm sure Ken had to basically remove himself when Sega and Archie stepped in. If we take that out of the equation, then hey, I have no problem with Knuckles and Julie Sue being an item. Because as long as there's no indication or evidence of, oh, they're distant cousins, they're part of the same family tree, you know, I'm down with them being together, you know. But when people look at this, and just like Comic Drake himself reacting to it, it is kind of wrong. But again, I can assume where Ken got the idea from. He got the idea either from basically, you know, a lot of, you know, research and stuff through, you know, history and everything, and realizing, hey, we're all kind of connected together in relation very, very distantly. Or he got the idea from somebody, or himself got the idea from the animes and manga he would look through for inspiration, for ideas, which a lot of people do. And, you know, basically, you know, by seeing, you know, these, you know, by seeing animes and mangas like the one I mentioned going in that direction, you know, it probably is what inspired him to do it. I'm not saying that's true. You know, I can't back that up, but, you know, it's an opinion and speculation of, you know, maybe that's why he put, you know, Julie Sue in there as part of the family tree. But again, if you ignore it, like Ian Flynn and others have done, and if you have to basically erase it from existence, like I'm sure Ken had to at the behest of Archie and Sega, then to me, you know, or if you just ignore it completely, then there's nothing wrong with Knuckles and Julie Sue being together. But yeah, it's one of those little tidbits, but that again, you know, when you see that in that family tree, and then you kind of hear it being basically acknowledged here and there, but then ignored, yeah, it does kind of change your outlook on that relationship between the two. But like I said, when you start noticing that it's not being even acknowledged anymore, then you realize, yeah, even the higher ups were not too thrilled with it, if you know what I mean. But I just thought I'd come on here, do this little video. Like I said, I'm in the process of watching Comic Drake's video on Ken Penders and stuff. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are down below. Comment if you like. Live chat during the premiere. Like the video. Super chat, super stickers are open during the live chat, if you will, as well as super thanks after the video. Also, check me out at Venmo at Brian-Romer-2 and Cash App at BWRoses98 to help support me there financially. Also, check me out at Patreon.com/BWRoses for the $1, $3 tier. Also, check me out at BW Roses Discussions, all your favorite audio podcast locations except for Pandora. Also, check me out at VENMO at BW Roses for content you can't get anywhere else. As well as check out my Teespring store and at DeviantArt at DeviantArt.com/BVW1979. And until next time, guys, I will talk to y'all later. But yeah, I just thought I'd do this, and until then, take care, God bless, and I'm out.